Let's take a look at the puzzle Mastermind and how you might solve this one. So in this puzzle, we have two grids that look like this with a couple of extra pieces of information. The first we know is that the answer is 0, 1, 2, 0. And we're also told to ignore the second grid until we have solved the first one. So that's what we're going to do. Now the title of this puzzle is Mastermind. And the clue here is that there's a game called Mastermind that uses these black and white pegs to indicate, basically, black indicates that in the game itself, color, but in this puzzle, number, is in the correct location and is the correct value. And a white peg indicates that the number is in the answer, but it's not in the right spot. And so based on this, we can sort of figure out where everything goes. And so, for example, if we know that the answer is 0, 1, 2, 0, we have this third column that has 4 black dots in it. That must mean that in that order, 0, 1, 2, 0 has to go into that column. And now from here, we basically just have to do quite a bit of deduction to figure out where everything else goes. So for example, these two orange squares, we know that they have to be zeros. Now how do we know that they have to be zeros? Because we know that the first and the fourth row both have 4 white pegs, which means there are 2 zeros, a 1, and a 2 in those rows, but they're not in the right positions. None of them are in the right positions. So if they were in the corners, if those zeros were in the corners, they would be in the right positions, right? 0, 1, 2, 0, for example. So the 0 can't possibly be in the corners. And so we know that those have to be zeros. Now let's look at the corners. We know that all of these squares have to be 1s and 2s. Again, for the same reason that we just had before, where we know that the 4 numbers in the row are 0, 1, 2, and 0, but they're not in the right order. We thus know that the corners have to be 1s and 2s. And because of that, that means that actually these spaces absolutely have to be 1s and 2s it has to be 1, 2 in this order. And the reason for that is that the column has 2 black dots, which means there are only 2 correct numbers in the correct locations in this column. So again, the column, because it only has 2 black dots, that means that there can only be 2 numbers in the correct positions. And we know that the corners can't be zeros, so they have to be 1s and 2s, which means by implication, this has to be 1, 2, exactly there. Now let's look at this one. We know that the second 2 there, is in the right spot. And we know that there are 2 other digits that are in the wrong spot but are correct. That's what the 2 white pegs in that row mean. So that the second 2 in this row is correctly positioned, 0, 1, 2, 0. The other 2 digits are correct, but they're in the wrong spots, which means that it has to be 2, 0, 2, 1. If it was the other way around, the 1 would also be in the correct position. There wouldn't be 1 black peg. There would have to be 2 black pegs, and so on. So we're getting there. We're starting to work through this using some logic and deduction. So now, if we know that there are 3 correct placements in this column going up and down with the 3 dots there, this has to be a 1. It's the only thing that could possibly make it true that there were 3 correctly positioned numbers. This square has to be a 1 as well. It's the only way for the second row to be only a single black dot. If it was anything else, if it was a 0 rather, there would be 2 black dots, and if there was a 2, there would at least be a white dot to indicate that there was a correct number in the wrong spot. So this has to be a 1. By the same logic that we just applied to that row, these 2 values also have to be 1s. And then finally, in order to preserve the truth of both the first and the fourth rows, now that we have eliminated everything else, we know that these have to be 2s. Now there's a lot of steps there to figure it out, and you kind of have to get your head around the idea of the Mastermind game to do it. But once you apply the logic and the rules of all of the dots that you see around the perimeter of that grid, this is the final set of numbers. So now we can finally turn our attention to that second grid now that we have solved the first one. In each of those squares, we have 3 letters. And in each of the squares on the left, we have a number 0, 1, and 2. And although typically we might think of this as the first, second, and third letter of some set, if we instead think of it as a 0th, first and second letter of each set, what we can do is we can take the number that we see on the left and select that letter on the right, again, treating 0 as the first one and 2 as the third one instead. And if we do that, we highlight all of these letters here, which give us the phrase Mordecai last name, which, as you know, is not the answer to the puzzle because we said that the answer to every puzzle, unless otherwise specified, is a single word or name. But there's one more clue here. And again, we have to think back to the title of the puzzle, Mastermind. Mastermind was invented by a man whose first name is Mordecai and his last name is Mirowitz. And that's the answer to the Mastermind puzzle.